So this Andre Iguodala thing is kind of interesting to me, so why not talk about it? Basically, the Grizzlies don't want to buy out Iguodala. Iguodala wants to get bought out. That's basically it. It's not a normal buyout because Iguodala can actually be good most of the time when a veteran is in buyout talks or gets bought out. A lot of the time they just kind of suck, or they're like a 15-minute a game dude. Like Iguodala can be in the closing lineup of a finals contender right now. Yeah, you're mainly waiting. You're not mainly. You were definitely just waiting until like the conference finals or round 2, depending on who you are or whatever. But he's still a valuable guy to have, right? But for the Grizzlies, it's like, well, why do we have to give up on an asset just because he wants out? Which I think is totally fair. Also, another reason why this is not a normal buyout, Iguodala makes $17 million. Like, they recently let Dwight Howard go. He only making $5 million, so that was a little easier. So unless Andre wants to leave some money on the table, it just doesn't seem like much of a win. Now, maybe he would be willing to. Maybe he's saying, you know what, I'll leave however much money off so I can just get out of here. But what if the Grizzlies have to pay him like $1 million a year or $2 million or whatever, or $3 million or something for even like the next 2 or 3 seasons? That can be a big deal. It doesn't sound like a big deal until you suddenly have a lower salary cap than every other team in the league for a couple of years. So again, why should Memphis put themselves through that just because Iguodala wants to play on the Lakers? Also, there's no guarantee that he doesn't just get bought out at some point during the season, or he could get traded pretty early on. I mean, like almost half the league just changed teams in free agency, so that means a bunch of dudes can't get traded until December 15th, I believe it is. So there's a chance on December 16th, once some team has the money available to fill in the salaries, Iguodala could get traded. Now, what do I actually think is a return for Iguodala the Grizzlies would expect? I don't know. I mean, if it's a desperate contender, you might be able to get a first, but I really don't know. I mean, I guess that's another side of this, is like, what are you really going to get for this guy? But again, at the same time, that doesn't mean you should just buy him out and give yourself a little disadvantage against other teams in free agency or whatever. Unless, again, Iguodala was willing to leave a bunch of money on the table. Another thing to add on to all that stuff is, like, would this hurt the Grizzlies' perception around the league? Because that's a thing. Players are not robots. They see everything. They talk about this stuff just as much, probably more, than all of us do. I mean, it could, you know. I feel like if you were looking at the idea of, like, loyalty and all that, though, wouldn't you get more mad at the Warriors than you would the Grizzlies? Like, you know, if I'm looking at this through the eyes of a player who, I mean, let's be honest, the players do not care about the money and the picks and the future assets as much as we all do. Some of them recognize that stuff matters, but 9 times out of 10, their go-to is this is a business, and they don't really care about the minute details of all this stuff. So looking at it through that lens, they might just be saying, well, the Warriors traded him away the moment they lost the finals for the first time and whatever. Like, wouldn't you get more mad at the Warriors if you're looking at everything through that lens? I don't know. Now, speaking of the Warriors, I think I should mention the actual trade here, which could matter when you're talking about, like, if there's a bad guy here or whatever. The Grizzlies did get a first-round pick from this trade. It's top 4 protected in 2024. Number 1 protected in 2025. It's unprotected in 2026. You could view it and be like, you guys already got your asset for this dude. Like, just, again, buy him out. And then I repeat once again, $17 million money on the table. I just want to, like, actually mention that, because I do think that can at least kind of matter if we want to go, like, the moral side of this, which might matter a lot, might not matter at all. I don't know. I will say, in terms of splashes Memphis could make in free agency, I mean, it seems like it's Ja, it's Jaren, and I mean, those two are very exciting, but I don't think there's going to be some crazy, like, free agents looking to sign with Memphis anytime soon. Now, I mean, they could get into the running on, like, giving Jaylen Brown too much money next season, and that's interesting, but Like, do we really think that type of a move, whether it's Jalen or Brandon Ingram or somebody else, is like going to be affected by whatever happens with this Iguodala thing? I don't think so, unless the media spin job on Iguodala somehow being like in a hostage situation when he's making $17 million a year as a basketball player just gets really out of control. So yeah, for what it's worth, I think Iguodala will be a professional throughout all this. I don't think he's gonna be his own version of Antonio Brown, basically. Anyway, that's about all I got on Iguodala.